Okay, this is gonna be something a little different. This is gonna be something just a little different. That's the reason I have my glasses on. Today you're gonna learn. Today you're gonna learn something. Something interesting. I hope it is interesting for you at least. So let me just swap to my screen now. Okay. So if you see my channel yesterday for the past few days, you know I'm actively making a Cephalon so I can use it on the Warframe videos. I intend this thing to narrate, and with it not narrating, I mean me narrating the videos as the Cephalon, of course. The most, the more jokey ones, the more the least serious ones will be 100% done using the Cephalon. But I need to adjust some stuff on it because it still has some kinks that I need to figure out. And also really important, I intend this Cephalon to be usable on a live setting. I want this thing to be able to be used as my webcam on live streams, which would be really fun, like really fun. I want to do something like that. But I'm gonna explain how I did this. And before going into how I did it, let me show you what he does. This is Cephalon and he's my own Cephalon, and he reacts to sound, even to the sound of his own voice. And he changes shapes and colors, and he's really cool. Look at him. Look at him go.
What's up, brother? My name is Cephalon and I've come to fucking Bife.
So, yeah, he's cool. He's really cool. So I'm gonna explain what the fuck is going on here for those of you that don't understand game development. So the first thing that we need to make something like this is a model. Because of course, even though this looks like kinda ethereal and translucent and all that shit, this is basically a model that I've added a lot of stuff to. And I've added some logic so it reacts to things. So we have two models. We have this one, which this one I didn't make. It's really simple to make in Blender to learn to make a shape like this. It's really easy. But I wanted to look for something that was already done and that was able to be used by other people. So I just went into Sketchfab and looked for cool looking geometrical shapes, right? This one was free to use, so I'm using this one. And this is the nucleus, like this is the core of the Cephalon. And as you can see, it is transparent. That is not important. That is not part of the modeling process. If I use an unlit, like, it becomes kind of more clear that there's a line around here, right? If you can see my mouse, there's like a line here, another line here. Like, the material part of the process is not the same. This could be done with any model. So yeah, I just got icosahedron, if that's how you pronounce it. And this is the nuclei. But then I actually made a model. I made this model. And the cool part about this model is that it's incorrectly done on purpose. What that means is that some phases of it don't exist. And because they don't exist, the renderer on Unreal gets confused. And whenever you look around it, it's like, where was that? Where was that face, right? You're not seeing that face inside? You're not seeing that face here, but you move and suddenly a shape appears. And that is intentional. Because that means whenever I end up the parts of the Cephalon rotate, you will see some cool effects. And even now, because it pumps up and pumps down and it changes size, just because of your perspective, those shapes can start showing up in the model. And that's very cool. So this is incorrectly done intentionally. Like you can see, it looks like you're staring into something that doesn't make sense. And that was kind of the of the intent, right? And sometimes you see something magical like this, where because it is translucent, you can see several faces of it, like this face over this face over this face, and it looks really cool. So that's the reasoning behind it, right? I would open up Blender and show you, but whatever. This is really simple to do. This is just basic Blender, basic 3D modeling, and then I just added the transparency, which is important, but I'll go into the materials later. Okay, so now that we have this part and the nuclei, I got an entity, and that's the way I call these things, but this is a blueprint. A blueprint is, if you know anything about coding, a blueprint is essentially a class. This is a class, but you can make really cool thing with classes in Unreal because you can straight up just add visual stuff to them, and they're still variables. Like these are variables that you have here, right? This is essentially just a variable, but you can see them, you can visualize them. If the variable is something like a mesh or like a 3D model, you can visualize them. But this is essentially just a class. So I've added the nuclei to this class, and I've added and divided them between the up part, this upper part, and the lower part. But this is just, I've gotten the little shapes that I just showed you, and I've perfectly aligned them with the nuclei. Like no matter where you see it, it looks exactly how it's supposed to. Right, left, right. It looks almost the same. So that's how it works. I've just laid all down here and ordered it. And whenever you finally get the shape that you want, then the magic starts. First thing that we needed to look like a cephalon, and cephalons are kind of translucent. So we make two materials. One material is really simple, right? One material is really simple. This is it. It's just a material which is translucent. Okay, this is the color that I chose for the nuclei. But then I just made a copy paste here and changed the alpha value. Why? Because I want this is what is gonna determine how translucent it is. Because I'm getting the alpha channel of this color, which again, the alpha channel is the translucency, and I'm throwing it onto the opacity node of this material. So if I change this, like you can instantly see, right? This was 0.8. So that's how I wanted to. So this one is real simple. This one's real simple. The complicated one is the reactive material. So what this means is there's not one color for the texture. There's not one color for the material. This is the color. This is the color. Which, as you can see, is a gradient. It's a gradient that changes between purple to kind of blue to kind of pink. It's a gradient. What do I do with this gradient? I pan it. This is code. This is not just a node that tells this to, oh, the material is gonna have this color. This is code now, because this is a function. A function is a slice of code that does something and has a name. You can create a function and create a name for it. Like you can make a bunch of code and add a name for it, and that's a function. And you can call that function, and you can reuse that function using that name. Make sense? But of course, development environments like Unreal have already like a ton of functions for you to use. So this is one of the functions that Unreal has for material, which is panner. A panner moves the part of the texture that you are showing. So you could, for example, like make one of those electronic billboards that moves and is showing you text and text and text. You could make something like that with a panner. But the effect that I wanted is for it to change color slowly. Also in a really like not natural way at all. Like I don't care if it suddenly cuts to the other, because that gives us the electronic look that we are looking for, right? So we are panning this texture. We are panning this gradient that I made. And that's the reason like the colors change. And it will go to a certain speed. And that speed depends on a variable. I'll explain that later. But I'm doing the exact same thing with other aspects. For example, the ambient occlusion, which is an effect that I'm not going to explain because I don't understand what it is, but I know that it looks cool, so I use it. But I don't know why it is. I just know that it looks cool whenever I use it. And the opacity, though. This is another gradient. But this is not a gradient from black to white. This is a gradient from black to white to nothing. As in complete transparency. Complete transparency like you get in a PNG whenever you remove the background in an image on Photoshop, right? So this goes from black to white to transparent. And we are using this to determine the opacity. So it can become more transparent and less transparent, and more transparent and less transparent. So it gives that ethereal look, like it's a hologram, right? And it's also panned. It also moves. And also depends on a variable, which I will also explain later, right? And okay, this is not needed at all. that is not needed at all. But also I'm getting the color from the texture, the color that is being applied to the material, which is this RGB going to base color. I'm also getting that. I'm multiplying it so it becomes much more vibrant, because colors are essentially just numbers. They're a vector. They're three numbers: the R, the G, and the B. It's three numbers, and your computer determines what color it is based on those three colors, right? That's what RGB means. So if you multiply a color, even though it's a number, it becomes another more vibrant color. And you multiply it and you throw it into the emissive, which means it's gonna emit light. It's a fake light, but it looks really cool. It looks really cool. And also, it depends, the amount of emissive, it also depends on the variable. So we have three variables that control how this texture looks. Because if, like outside the running time, when the game is paused, you don't see any of those shapes moving around, right? You're not seeing them. They don't change. They don't. But let me show you how it would look. So I need to mute the audio. I need to clear this thing. And supposedly we will... Oh no, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, I forgot about something. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It actually needs sound. It actually needs sound. Okay. That's no problem. I'll explain later. So let me go back to this. And but yes, this is sound cue. We can just add the music by itself, by the way. And it should work again, right? Yes. Okay, let me just lower the volume a little bit. Because that, if I don't lower it, I cannot speak while it works. So you can see those shapes, the colors are slightly moving around and changing. Yeah, that's what I explained before. It's more noticeable when the song goes slower. It looks so cool. Okay, so now that I've explained how to make the shape of the cephalon, which is really simple, it's just polygons and done in Blender and order them in a class, in a blueprint class of Unreal. And the material, let's explain why it actually moves with sound. Okay, so this is the hard part, by the way. So this is where the magic is. This is what it makes it work. Which I know looks intimidating. I know. So we're doing certain stuff just at the beginning. These events, what they mean is this is what is connected to the events is what happens after that condition is met. Example, this is what happens whenever you start playing the game. This is what happens whenever sound starts playing. And this is whatever happens whenever sounds stop playing, right? So the first thing that happens whenever you start playing is that we get our variable that plays sound because, again, variables. Even though it's a music player or a sound player, it's still a variable. So you can get it. You can just get info out of it, right? So we get our audio player and we bind the event, which means we assign the audio playback event and the audio finish event to this player. So the moment the game starts working, it understands that it has to do the rest of the code whenever you play audio. Does that make sense? We bind the events and we create a material. What is the reason to create a material? Didn't we have the material already done? Yes and no. We had a material that you can just add to something, but then you cannot change anything. We need to make the material dynamic, which means you can change its properties during the execution of the game. So we create a material instance and we save the material which we want, which is the reactive cephalon. We save it into the variable. And we set the material of every single part of the model, which is all of the edges 1, edges 2, etc. We change every single one to have this. To have this material. The nuclei only has one material that is not dynamic, so it doesn't matter. We just use the base material which I showed before. We set every material. The moment you start the game, the millisecond you start the game, this is already set. Because it goes like, clack. Your CPU already did all this. It sets the material. Now we add a little delay of 0.2 seconds. Why? Because it doesn't sync well. Because it has to do a lot of stuff before playing the music, and if you don't give it a little delay, it desyncs. I don't know why, but it does. I found that with the little delay, it just gets fixed for some reason. But that's how it works. And then we play the audio. Of course, the audio that is played is gonna come from our audio scaler, which is the name that I gave it to, which is our audio player, which I added on the class from the viewport. Like you add whatever you want here. Well, I added a music player, a sound player, and now we can reference it and say that whenever you start playing and all of this shit gets done, after a little delay, music starts playing. That's what it means. Okay? Okay. So, because we have binded the event that detects the audio starting, just in case that we need, which I've not needed yet, but I might at some point, we're gonna save the sizes of each part of the model separately. I have 3 variables here, which are vectors, which means you have 3 numbers in each one. So I'm gonna save the icosahedron size, the size of the upper part, or the size of the lower part. I'm gonna save them on those variables in case I need to rescale the model to be just as I designed it to originally, if that makes any sense, right? And then, because this is really specific, by the way, because in the properties of the sound we enabled, where is it? Where is it now, though? There's too many things. Yes, because we activated this enable amplitude envelope analysis, which means enable the part of the engine that rates how big the sound wave is. This means this internally is gonna add a number to each part of the song. Like the point where a kick in the song, like poop, 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 the point where it hits, the sound is gonna go like this, the sound wave, right? So because it got bigger, it's gonna assign a number to that. And whenever it mutes, it's gonna assign a smaller number to it. Does it make any sense? But you need to activate it. You need to activate it. Because we have activated it, we can go to the audio scaler and tell it to give us the envelope data. This is, as I explained before, this is a function. This is a part of code, a snippet of code that is saved on the engine and has a name. But you could recreate something like this that does the same thing and give it a name and use that. Are you gonna do it? No, because in coding, you don't reinvent the wheel. Whenever you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you don't. You just use whatever you are given. So you get the envelope data, which can be outputted as a number, a float. A float is a number with decimals. That's what it means. So we get this number and we save it. Okay, we save it in this this variable. And now in real time, because again we have the references to each of the parts of the model, the icosahedron, the upper part, which involves the 4 upper parts, and the lower part, which involves the 4 lower parts. Because we have the references to them, although we could do it individually, like each part by itself, but that's way more complex. And that's the reason we have them just in 2 parts. So, because we have the references to those models, we can set the relative scale. And scale means the size in Unreal. So we get the number of the envelope data. And because scale works from 1, like 1 is standard, right? 1 is standard. Lower than 1 is smaller than standard. But the envelope data can often go below 1. And because it can go below 1, if I just use this number here, in each of the axes, if our Cephalon was like this, by default, the moment sound starts playing, it would go like this, and then the variety and size would be like this, right? While the actual size is supposed to be like this, and it's supposed to go bigger, right? So, because we know that the normal scale of the item is 1, we add 1 to it. We just add 1 to it. Does that make any sense? This is the icosahedron, and I want it to be the exact size that it tells it here. However, that is about to change. I want the parts around it to be smaller, because at this point I feel like it looks good. I might want to change it later, which I absolutely will, because I'm gonna try a million different things here. We get our data, but we only add 0.5 to the scale of the upper part, and also only 0.5 to the scale of the lower part. And that is the reason why this this starts bumping, because it's what it's doing is essentially getting the information, the numerical information of the sound that it's getting, and is using that number as the size in real time. And we can also do the exact same thing with the material. What I explained before, like these textures move, right? The opacity moves on real time too, and the ambient occlusion moves on real time, and the amount of light that it emits also changes, and they change depending on a parameter. A parameter is a number or a word or a whatever in code that you can pass onto something else. A parameter means there's gonna be something here at some point, and we know it's gonna be X. Like, we know here there's gonna be a number, and we are gonna need that number, but we are not using it yet, right? Because you want it to be dynamic. You want to be able to change it. If we just added here a number, we wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So because these are parameters, which means give me a place to put a number in, or give me a place to put a complex number in, or a fraction, or whatever, or a group of words, or literally anything. Because these are parameters in the code, we can reference them. This is the Cephalon material, right? You're seeing this. This Cephalon material, this is this. Because as I explained at the start, we assigned it to. We created a dynamic material instance, which is the reactive Cephalon, and we said, okay, Cephalon material is the reactive Cephalon material. So now, if I say Cephalon material, I can get the parameters. So I'm getting every single one of them, which I defined before. Color speed, emissive force, transparent speed. There they are. And now we can change the values. Now is when, oh, we're gonna need a number at some point. This is that point. This is the point where you need that number. So again, we get the info out of the music playback, the wave shape, how big it is, and we multiply it by 0.5. We do some numbers, which I've been trying a lot of stuff here. This is the part where you actually lose hair, because you need to configure how big or small you want this till you reach the point where it reacts exactly like you want. Like, this is just trial and error. This is trying numbers until you find something that you like. And this is gonna also change the speed at which these colors move in the Cephalon. And it's gonna change the amount of light, and it's gonna change the transparency. And to finish, we also change the intensity of the light that is in the middle, the orange light, the core light. And we know, with all of that said, that's how my Cephalon works, which I've been explaining for 28 minutes, and if you don't know anything about code, your mind is it's probably gonna implode. But I thought it could still be kind of interesting, and this is what it does. It bops, it bops, it vibes. Look at it go. Look at the colors moving, like, So that's how it works. I find it really cool. So what's the plan with it now? Okay, I'm not gonna do it right now because I don't have time. I need to leave in like 10 minutes. But the plan is I want it to be even more dynamic. I don't want just the size of each part to change while reacting to sound. I want it to also tilt around a little bit. Maybe like add like a circle around it that rotates like Cephalon Suda has, or like Ordis has. I can absolutely do that. And that's going to be way more complex probably. But just making every part tilt a little bit, like tweak a little bit with the music, that's not hard. Because I've already changed some aspect of the model based on sound, which is the scale. This is it. This is where it changes the scale based on the data that we get from our music or our voice or whatever. So if I can change the relative scale, I can also set relative rotation. So we can absolutely just do the exact same thing. We can just do the exact same thing. Problem being, you don't want this to get crazy, right? So I need to learn how to limit it, because each part might turn completely around, and that's not what you want. If you have a cephalon with a nuclei between like two sides, you want the sides to do like this, right? Maybe a little like this, a little like this. You don't want the sides to go, right? Unless you're trying to make like a comedic effect or something like that. Like the cephalon is going crazy, or the cephalon is really angry and goes like, Rah! You don't want that. You want it to be really subtle. So I need to do exact same thing that I've just done here. Instead of relative scale 3D, it would be rotation. And I would need to try some numbers. Try some numbers again and again and again. That's easy. So that's really easy. That can be done in an hour. So I'll probably do it this evening. I also want to add like something floating around it. That might be more tricky, and I might not even end up doing it. So that's secondary. But what I absolutely want to try, and this I don't know anything about. I literally don't know anything about it. What I want to try to make is this cephalon to be usable like my webcam. Right now you're seeing me, right? Wouldn't it be fucking rad if you were listening to me like with a voice filter, and instead of me, a cephalon was floating around this place in the screen. That could be really cool. That could be really, 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 really cool. But that is gonna be harder, because I know that I need some plugins for Unreal that allow me, because the problem is not that my computer cannot run it or anything like that. The problem is like, okay, here's the cephalon. Here's the cephalon. Here's the audio that it's playing. Here's where I pass the audio. This cannot be. This cannot be a file. This needs to be a channel that I'm passing live. There has to be a way of getting live sound put into there, right? That's how it would work. I'm guessing, what I'm guessing it's gonna be like, it's probably a variable that I'm getting from the plugin, and that variable is able to be updated during playtime, and I pass the sound somehow. And that is the only way that I don't know. Like, I've literally never done anything live with Unreal. Everything that I've done with Unreal is related to game development. So I've not done virtual production. That crazy shit is for Hollywood people, because you can use Unreal as like a virtual set to record movies in. Like, they legit fucking link face cams and movement tracking shoots, and they can legit just act in the middle of an Unreal scenario. They can actually do that. But I don't have any experience with it. My only experience is in game development, so yeah. I'm wondering, but it's really interesting. It's really interesting, and I want to try it out. I want to try it out because I don't think there's any Cephalon YouTubers out there. The only Cephalon YouTuber that we had was Cephalon Jai, and I miss her every day. We all miss her. It was a shame what happened to her. But hey, life's going good for her. I've heard, and she's doing some work on her own and getting away from all the fucking craziness of the Warframe community. So I hope her the best. I hope her the best. But because you're not here, Sai, I need to be the new Cephalon. Someone needs to fucking do it, and I'll go through. I'll go through the end with this shit. To the last consequences. I fucking made a Cephalon. He vibes to the fucking music. He's cool. His name is Anne. Say hi to Anne. God damn it. So again, this is not meant to be like a long live stream. This was meant to be a quick way to record a video to upload, to have as reference for anyone who is curious about how the fuck I made the Cephalon that I will be using in the future. Because I'm still not gonna use it. I need some time. I need to prep it up. I need to check it out in 20 million ways. I need to adjust the numbers. I need to make it just a little bit more live. And I need to figure out how to do it live, right? And again, the Cephalon would only be used in my shorter videos. And probably scripted videos. Webcam is not going anywhere. But yeah, I think it's a good resource, and I really like him. I really like him. So that's about all. That's about all. If there's no questions, I'm gonna be cutting this stream short. Right around now. So I'm just gonna be doing some code checking, and I'll wait for maybe some questions because I can see that I have some viewers now. But I'm just gonna be thinking in silence, and if you wanna ask anything, I'll answer, and then we'll be done. I need to go in like 15-minute stops. Maybe let me start adding the notes that I will need. Okay, so I need to clean this code up a little bit because it's really hard to read. Everything is bunched up together. The thing is, I don't know. I don't think I can do like a multi-execution, can I? I don't remember. Can I do this? No, I can't. I cannot. Okay. We can just do it at the end, I think. There's not gonna be any noticeable delay, I think. Right? So we would be adding this here, and I'm not gonna throw lines from here because it's gonna be just terrible. Thing is, for the rotation, I would actually kinda need to split the upper and the lower part, because what I want is each part around the nuclei to go click, 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 right? If I use the structure as I have it now, this is the upper part, this is the lower part, it's just gonna go like this, and it's not what I want. So, can I mean, up, down. I'm just gonna order it like this. So this is the down part, this is edges, edges 1, edges 2, edges 3. Right, so these are the down parts, and these are the up parts. Right, so this way I cannot fuck it up anyway. Anyhow. Yeah, so whenever I end up doing this, I have the info at the tip of my hand. Okay. So no questions then. Okay, so that will be all for today. I hope if you were curious about the making process, you got your answers here. And that will be all.